Welcome to the Work Well, Live Well podcast. I'm your host, Leanne. Drawing on the foundations of well-being science and positive psychology, I share tools, tips and strategies for people to intelligently manage their well-being so they can flourish into working well and living well. Today's guest is Roz Rhymes. Roz is an educator, coach, guest lecturer and founder of social enterprise Live with Zest. She works with her Australian Labradoodles Flash and Rafa, who have advanced canine assisted therapy qualifications. Roz and Flash have been a volunteer therapy team for over 7 years, soothing and strengthening patients at the Royal Melbourne Hospital and now St Vincent's private hospital. After observing so many life-enhancing transformations as a result of canine-assisted therapy, Roz decided to pursue her Master of Applied Positive Psychology at the University of Melbourne. Her work is informed by wellbeing science and focuses on savouring, fortified by canine-assisted education, and how this powerful combination can successfully increase wellbeing. Roz's work was included in the 2017 International Positive Psychology Association World Congress in Montreal and at the 2019 IPA World Congress in Melbourne. She presented on her Walk, Talk, Savour coaching practice. Passionate about sharing her knowledge and skills, she has presented to various MAP cohorts and at the Positive Education Schools Association, otherwise known as PISA, National Conference and State Conference. Her stories are featured in Professor Lee Waters' best-selling parenting book, The Strength Switch. Everyone, please meet the wonderful Roz Rhymes. Roz, thank you for joining me today. I really love the work that you're doing. I'm such a big fan.
Oh, thank you, Leanne.
I would love for you to share what inspired you to do what you do.
Yes. Okay, so I feel very grateful that I can do what I do, and I feel like it's based on personal experience. For example, this particular dog here, Flash, who's a 10-year-old Labradoodle, he helped me get through 2 master's degrees. So, 5,000 word essays, feeling a little bit anxious, and there he was asleep at my feet or, nudging me to go for a walk. And so I feel like it's lived experience in a good way, and I also have seen firsthand what we do for school refusing preppies, traumatised teenagers, anxious uni students, prickly seniors, and it really lights me up. Yeah.
So what brought you to that space? What brought you to really wanting to do this in this space?
Yeah, good question. So we got Flash as an 8-week-old Labradoodle, and the breeder actually told us about the Delta Society, so it's a volunteer organisation.
Okay.
And so we started volunteering in a rehab ward, and I saw the change that he made for people, and particularly there was a woman in her 50s who'd had a stroke, and she was non-verbal. I didn't know that. We visited, he looked into her eyes, she looked into his, and she started to mouth a few words. And her mother started to cry, the social worker had never seen anything like it, and I really thought, this is the work we must do. If we've got the potential to do this sort of work, this is what we really need to do.
And so you've moved into canine assisted education.
Yep.
Can you explain what that is and,
Sure.
and how that benefits the well-being of others?
Yep, absolutely. So a lot of your listeners might be familiar with, say, the dog going into the nursing home, and that's really good work and very important. It's quite different from what we do now. So generally speaking, that's a volunteer going into a nursing home, and what we do is a canine assisted education model. So I'm a teacher, an educator and coach, and we go in, Flash and his friend Rafa, who's 2, have done advanced animal assisted therapy and advanced animal assisted education training. So what we do is we'll go into a setting with clear learning outcomes, and what we do is also I teach savouring. So I came to the practice of savouring actually through wine. Although, just so you listeners know, I don't teach under 18s about alcohol. I was lucky enough to work. I studied hotel management originally, worked for Moet and Chandon in France, in Épernay in France, and I learned about wine as you look at the appearance, the aroma, the flavour profile, the length, and it's just so much more than a wet beverage. Well, when I was lucky enough to study the Master of Applied Positive Psychology at Melbourne Uni, I learned about savouring. So savouring is being realistic, but zeroing in on the positive emotion. So it's different from mindfulness. So mindfulness, according to John Kabat-Zinn, is being aware in the present moment, non-judgmentally, of the positive and the negative. The only problem with that, as I see it, is if you've experienced any kind of trauma, if you're more aware of that trauma and you're not supported in the trauma, you can feel, a little bit lost or go to a very negative place.
Yeah.
And for example, at Cabrini Hospital, my understanding is where they're doing mindfulness. In oncology, they'll have a second person moving around the room. That person is a psychologist. So they can really support those people.
Yeah.
So savouring is wonderful because it's accessible, it's easy to approach. We can savour an ice cream, we can savour a sunset, we can savour someone's smile, we can savour the soft touch of the dog, the long eyelashes, the heartbeat, the warmth. And also the dogs, from a canine point of view and a neurobiological point of view, there's a lot of science without getting too nerdy. The dogs can smell if someone's anxious. They can literally smell the cortisol. And there's a wonderful oxytocin transfer, which is mutually beneficial when we're working with the dogs. So the dogs enjoy it and so do we.
Right.
So people are being both soothed and strengthened. So I combine that with savouring, and we're noticing how long the dog's eyelashes are, the funny way they wag their tail or their 15 tricks. And the other thing about savouring, which is wonderful, is it's temporal. So we can look forward to dinner with a friend tonight. We can enjoy the moment like I'm enjoying the moment with you right now, or I can savour the coffee that I had this morning, or the ice cream that I had yesterday, or the sunset.
So it's not always in the moment, it can be in the past or something we're looking forward to.
Correct. And there's a lot of storytelling around that. Like a teacher might elicit, what are you looking forward to from a student? Or, if you're trying to engage as a parent with your teenager, what was the best thing that happened this afternoon? And really still being realistic. We're not denying that, there are problems and tricky things, and sometimes I get a scratch on my boot, which won't make me happy.
Yeah.
But I'm choosing, or I've built up my savouring muscles so that I really, we call it sensory perceptual sharpening.
Yes.
Okay, really zeroing in with all my senses.
Wow. And Flash and Rafa work with you in all sorts of settings.
Yes.
What does it look like when they're helping? What's
good. Okay, that's a really good question.
What's the experience
like? So for example, what we would do is, and we worked with some preppies their first day last week. Okay, so what we do is we get briefed by the school, perhaps the principal or the teacher. What's it likely to look at? We might have done a familiarisation of the environment beforehand. We know the kids are going to be anxious coming in. So we would be in a certain part of the classroom, so it's optional, because we recognise that this works very well for kids who like dogs. And we know that there are a few people who don't like dogs, and that's okay. They can opt in or opt out. We're not trying to force anyone to do anything. So we would be in a certain part of the classroom. It was quite funny because last week it was almost like the Pied Piper. So I sat down with the dogs on the ground, and here we had a few kids in a circle, and what do you know? more and more kids come and willingly join the circle. So the focus is on the beautiful teddy-like dog, which is the Labradoodle with its curls or its fleece coat, either chocolate-coloured or blonde. Looks like one of their teddy bears with a heartbeat, very alluring, very enticing. And they come and sit down and you've got a positive focus. So perhaps they're forgetting about leaving mum or dad or caregiver, and they've got this amazing creature in front of them. They're sitting next to someone they don't know. But it's okay because they're looking at the dog. And then they get to pat the dog.
And I guess in that particular environment that you've just described, that also provides an opportunity for connection.
Absolutely.
A point of similarity for the other students that they're sitting with.
Lovely, and a lot of role playing. For example, the kids who have dogs or have a lot of interaction with dogs, they probably know to put their hand out to let the dog smell their hand, and ways to pat the dog, to be gentle, builds empathy, and taking instruction or guidance from the teacher or the handler in terms of how to interact with the dog, and the building of those high quality connections, which we know builds belonging, which is a reason to come to school, to participate, to feel engaged. Storytelling when they get home, what happened today. Lots of elements.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I know that you do, you influence in so many different fields with your beautiful work. And I know that you also do some stuff in the space of domestic violence.
Yes.
Is that the same sort of approach that you use in that environment?
Yeah, and that was something I started a social enterprise called Live with Zest, and it's a great privilege to do what I do, and so a certain amount of our work is pro bono, and we were privileged to work with survivors of domestic violence on a number of occasions, and again we're briefed by the organisers, and for people who've been through such traumatic and sometimes continue to experience trauma, we are able to go in and both soothe and strengthen. So literally patting the dog and their soft curls and feeling the warmth and feeling the heartbeat. Sometimes, having the dog's paw on our leg, just a gentle sensory modulation can be very soothing for people who have been judged, and the dog's non-judgmental. They exhibit some of the greatest human qualities, loyal, authentic, feedback in the moment, just want to be with us. Don't care what we look like, don't care what has happened before, just want to hang with us. It's beautiful to watch.
Yeah, as a pet owner myself, I know what a difference my pet makes in my life, in just a general term. So in the space that you're working in, I can see how valuable all of this would be to the individual, and so important.
And I guess I became really curious too, and this is the positive psychology and the well-being side of things, because I like to call them well-being dogs as well as therapy dogs. It was when I was going into major hospital that it was often the paramedics or the surgeons or the specialists who would say to me on the way in or on the way out, "Can I pat your dog?" And I started to think about what was this all about, and I realised they knew that by patting the dog, they could get a rapid well-being boost and go back and do these important, difficult tasks. As much as they'd like to perhaps go and spend 3 months in a cave, they can't do that. But by patting the dog, they could experience a rapid boost in well-being, and they could go back and do the important work. So I'm really interested in dogs as psychological assets and visiting dogs, because we've really got to look after their well-being. And I'm doing research at the moment with Tom Brunzell Berry Street in terms of what does best practice canine assisted education look like. This
is a question that's just come to me, so I appreciate if it's not one that you're prepared for. But we talk about using these beautiful animals for the well-being of others.
Yes.
But I know as a well-being educator that we often take on a lot.
Yes.
And we have the skills, I guess, to manage that the best we can. Would the dogs be the same in picking up on that and have some side effects? Do you need to give them extra care or?
Yeah, really good question, Leanne. And you know what? I thoroughly spoil these dogs, and that's why Flash at 10 is a veteran, and hopefully he'll go for another 2 or 3 years before we retire him.
Yes.
And what was really important to me from the beginning was setting it up in the right way. So from the beginning, when he started at 18 months of age, we would go to the off-lead park, run, bath, sleep, hospital visit, off-lead park, sleep, bounce back. And so that is really important physiologically for the dog. And also I take a lot of care to make sure they both have a lot of downtime, a lot of playtime, a lot of time just to be dogs, a lot of time to hang with the family, and they live in very comfortable environments. They've always been encouraged to be on a bed so that, with permission, they be in the hospital on the bed if a patient wants that, and they're very comfortable in those settings. So dog well-being, because sadly I know of cases where the dogs haven't been looked after, is of paramount importance. Yeah, and they come home to the same handler. Some people even have asked, is it your dog? And I just couldn't do what I do if it was a dog picked up from a pool of dogs in the morning.
No, you need that connection.
Yeah, absolutely. They are our family members. Yeah.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
And when we see them when I've seen you out at functions and at the University of Melbourne and at the World Congress of Positive Psychology, there was a lot of attention on the boys, wasn't there? If I can call them the boys, because I love them. Yes. And they're getting lots and lots of pats and things like that. And as wonderful as that must be, it must be a bit overwhelming, I would imagine, at times. Would I be right?
It can be a little bit overwhelming, but I watch it very carefully and monitor it, and I'll remove them from the intensity of the environment, if you like, because they're very much sentient beings and they're absorbing the energy. And as you can imagine, the energy is different, whether it's a mental health ward or a University of Melbourne student village, high energy, happy, positive energy, or with a prickly senior, or with a school refusing preppy. The energy's different. Yes. And so I'm observing very clearly. I know not to take my eyes off the dog. That's why the model of visiting handler dog is a good one, because I really don't think you want a dog unsupervised in a setting for any length of time. It's just not fair to the dog. Now, over and over, leaders in the field, scholars, are talking about the efficacy of savouring, and it really makes a lot of sense to me, and I've applied it, and it seems to work.
Would you be able to give an example of savouring?
Sure. So I love to do a savouring exercise with chocolate, and people may be familiar with the raisin meditation, John Kabat-Zinn's raisin meditation. With a chocolate, I don't know whether I'm allowed to name the brand, but I'll say, so a Lindt red chocolate ball. So what I might do is give the participants the chocolate ball in the red wrapping and ask them not to touch it, but just to look at it. So the act of giving them the chocolate, they might think of other times where they've received a gift. They might look in anticipation at the chocolate, thinking, "Ooh, I've had these chocolates before, I like these chocolates." So that's savouring in the future, anticipating. Then I might ask them to hold the chocolate up to one ear and hold each end of the wrapper and unwrap it and listen to the sound. So you're listening to the sound, this is called sensory perceptual sharpening. So you're using all your senses. So you've used your eyes to observe, your ears to hear, then look at the chocolate unwrapped and the round orb and the shiny tempered chocolate. So you're looking, then smell the chocolate. So you're doing it slowly with all your senses. So that's in the present moment. Then you enjoy the chocolate silently. They can have it all at once or in bites. And I ask them not to talk, so they're individually enjoying the chocolate. And that might be the best chocolate they have ever tasted, because they're slowing right down and using all their senses and thinking about how they can still taste the chocolate for moments afterwards. And then we talk about perhaps they might share that experience when they go home that night with their friends or family. And therefore, it's more than a meditation or a mindfulness practice. It's actually embedded with the principles of savouring, because it has that temporal aspect. And it's focusing on how much they enjoyed that experience. So it's really dialing that up and amplifying it.
I was with you with that explanation. I could taste that chocolate as you were, because they are my favourite.
Well, I have some in the fridge, Leanne. Maybe we can try it after this interview.
That would be wonderful.
Yes.
As we come to the end of this wonderful talk, there's so much I would love to talk to you about. There's just so much. You do such amazing work, you and the boys.
Yes.
Do you have a book or a TED talk or a tool that would be useful for the well-being of others?
Yeah, that's interesting. I've got lots of things. I actually, I'm a big fan of Michelle McQuaid's podcast.
Yes.
Because I feel like she talks to a wide range of people in this space. And in particular, she spoke with Professor Fred Bryant, who wrote the book on savouring, which is a seminal text, and it was Bryant and Veroff, and very interesting to hear his work and many others, and it keeps us very current.
Yeah, I listened to that podcast as well, and I can't recommend that highly enough. It's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. I believe you're doing some work in the space of canine assisted therapy. Is that something you would like to talk about, in that space of the studies or research that you're doing?
Yeah, I'm actually working with Tom Brunzell in the research group, and it's very exciting looking at best practice canine assisted education in Australia. What would that look like? It has so much potential for good, and it's very exciting. There's a lot of work to do in this space because, as you can imagine, robust research is resource intensive and it takes time. And I'm also applying for a Churchill Fellowship to learn as much as I can to bring that knowledge back to Australia and to share it. And it's such a privilege because I think a lot of us have known intrinsically that being with dogs feels good, but we really haven't understood the neurobiological aspects of it. And now with neuroscience, we're really understanding more and more. So I'd really like to explore things like the dosage, what are the elements of an effective positive psychology intervention or education program using dogs. Yeah, it's a very exciting space.
I'm so excited for you. So thank you so much again for the opportunity to interview for this podcast. Tell us how people might contact you if they want to find out more. How would they do that?
Sure. Well, I've got a website and it's called Live with Zest. So Live with Zest, Zest. So apparently I'm high on zest, Leanne, and it's kind of a call to action because I was so thrilled to study positive psychology, and I feel like we can really, most of us want to thrive. We can't thrive all the time. That would be unrealistic. But I just love how the dogs help me, frankly, and they help my family to live with zest. And I love to share that with other people.
Well, thank you so much. I will share the links in the show notes so that people can easily find that to contact you. So with that, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
And thank you for joining me. You can connect with Roz through LinkedIn and Facebook and the Live with Zest website at www.livewithzest.com.au. If you have found this podcast of benefit, please share it with someone you think will benefit too. I love to receive your feedback and would be most grateful if you could rate this podcast on iTunes. I invite you to connect with me through LinkedIn and Facebook. Until next time, wishing you well-being. Bye for now.